It's sort of a loaded question, isn't it? Because I'm from a PC background, but I also am a console gamer. Um, well, one of my favorite things about making games is like having an idea and having to fit it into constraints. So like when you have an infinite number of key combinations, I think it tends to lead itself to sort of a sloppiness on the PC side. When you have smaller number of keys, you start trying to get clever. So I think working within constraint is definitely it's the number one thing about making a console game that's different, right? I mean, like you have less RAM, you have a smaller processor, you have less keys to play with. I think inarguably working within constraint is the number one creative thing that you have to wrap your head around, and technologically to also to make a console game, and moving from a PC to a console environment, like that's been the biggest struggle for us. We were pretty serious early on about saying, like, hey, we're not making a console game. We're going to bring our experience to the console. And that's why we chose Xbox. We knew if we had gone with any other console, we really wouldn't have been able to do that. We'd have had to cut everything in half, right? So the Xbox has a lot of memory for a console. Uh, so the only difference really that it's brought, I think, is we have two different sets of textures planned, one for the PC that's higher res, one for the Xbox that's lower res, and the maps are split up into smaller chunks for the Xbox, which kind of works out. You're walking down the street, you go into a bar, and there's a little mini map load, and then you're in the bar. It's a console standard. So. Yeah, the reason people make games for multi-platform is more money. I mean, it's not just more sales cumulatively. It's not just like, oh, I sold 1.5 million on the PC and 3 million on the console or whatever. It's at the same time you had advertising and support and word of mouth for all of it going on at once. It's more likely to create kind of a critical mass where people are saying the name Deus Ex Invisible War. I think you're going to start seeing that a lot more, though, as people get smarter about planning for it up front. We always said early on, like, we want to uh, think about the constraints we're going to be under from day one. We know that the console is going to be more constraining. We'll work creatively around those. Like, if on the PC I can walk down the street and go into the bar without ever loading a map, but on the Xbox I have to like walk down the street, load a map, transition to get into the bar, but then the content is exactly the same in both cases. Like, I'm pretty happy with that as a gamer. So that's an example of something that I guess you could call that watered down content, but the same conversations, the same art, the same models are there in both cases. So it's very serious about making, like, we're sort of platform agnostic, to be honest. Like, we could care less whether you're playing it on what kind of machine you built at home. Like, really, what we care about is the quality of the game experience, and I think across platform, all platforms, that's what gamers want is a quality experience, something that sort of pushes the envelope and allows them to interact with the world and express themselves. So the most important thing to us is just a quality experience, and it doesn't matter to me. Like, I wouldn't make a game and then also have like a watered down version attached to it or whatever. Like, I feel like the PlayStation version of Deus Ex 1 we made was really good. I feel like it stands up against other PlayStation games. It was a little dated graphically by the time we released it, but it was still the same experience. It was the same Deus Ex vibe. We learned a lot about controllers and about memory and about how to, you know, make the world feel really populated while getting away with like instancing things, like, oh, this piece of trim is used all around the edge of the world, all around the edge of the room, but then it's also turned upside down and used around the plant in the middle here for the planter, and the player doesn't notice it because it has like different lighting on it or whatever. You've got to pull little tricks like that to release a game like Deus Ex on the console. I was a big fan of the N64, yeah. Over time, I've been an Atari 1040 ST fanatic, an Amiga fanatic, the N64, and then mostly PC and Xbox lately. But I kind of move around wherever the games are. You know, wherever the game is that I find completely compelling and immersive, that's where I go. So. Lately, Knights of the Old Republic and Ghost Recon are the two games that I've finished lately. I've played a lot of things. I played Project Gotham Racing and Halo and a few other things around the same time period. And then I buy weird stuff that most gamers don't play. Like I played Finding Nemo, but I have to really like a game to play it more than 4 hours or so. So I finished my Knights of the Old Republic good Jedi playthrough, and I wanted to start the bad Jedi playthrough, and I just haven't had time because we've been trying to finish this project. We've gone into the final phase here where it's the Ion Storm ritual, like people color their hair and stop shaving and things like that at the end of the project, so we're all doing things like that right now, just trying to remind ourselves that this is it, this is the game you're shipping. So I have not had a lot of time. On the PC I've wanted to play Shadows of Undrentide, Neverwinter Nights add-in recently, I haven't had time for that. So yeah. No, not a natural blonde. Normally my hair is brown, and I only did this at the end because like other people on the team started doing it. We wanted to. It's a great show of solidarity. Like at the end of Deus Ex 1, the designers all started coloring their hair, and it was just kind of a funny thing. And then a couple of people stopped shaving, and it was just one of these goofy little things you do to try to pull everything together at the end and just deal with the sheer stress and pressure that you're under. Well, my plan this time is to hang around for a while, not just instantly jet off somewhere. I want to make sure that any follow-up work that we need to do, any patch that we need to release, or any Xbox Live content, if we go down that road, I'm not committing to it, but if we do, I want to make sure that all of that gets done right. But then what I want to do is take 2 weeks off and just relax and recover. And then after that, I'm really excited about a couple other games that I want to work on. So. That's a good question. 95% of the time with a game like Deus Ex, the bugs are consistent across both. So if you fix one, you fix the other one. So yeah, it has made our QA more rigorous. Our QA department's getting really good here. It's made our QA more rigorous, but I guess that's true because we're shipping on a console as well. We're definitely more rigorous. That's true, but the part I'm wrestling with is we don't right now have like a really buggy Xbox or a really buggy PC version and a really clean Xbox version. They're the same in both cases. So. It was very, very hard to get in as well. I mean, like, that's one of the things that makes our game different is, like, it's not the biggest, baddest, most cinematic ride ever where you're running down a street followed by tanks firing rockets at somebody and, planes are crashing into buildings around you. It's not that kind of game. It's more like you creep through the back alley, break the window, climb into somebody's apartment. You talked to the janitor earlier, and he told you where where the apartment was. On the way you dive into a dumpster and wait for a guard to pass, and while you're in the dumpster you find some food or whatever. I mean, we're very granular. You can close the dumpster lid and use it to jump off the dumpster onto the roof, or open the lid and hide in the dumpster. And we're very granular. We're very much about picking your way across a highly detailed, densely populated, heavily simulated kind of environment or landscape. Um, and then, it's interesting, getting that to the console was a challenge because it means more objects, more memory, more processor time spent simulating havoc physics. And we really had to wrestle with all that because we were not going to relinquish our goal of bringing our experience to the console. We weren't going to get rid of physics simulation because we can't do it on the console. Screw that. We were like, we're going to find a way to make this work. And the physics simulation in this game is so much better than the physics simulation in Deus Ex. Same with the sound propagation and the AI. Those are three areas where we've just taken the bar and raised it compared to Deus Ex 1. I don't know. That's a kind of a dangerous conclusion to draw. Um, when you look at games like Seaman, it was like a wacky little game that had like a very analog AI system for the little creature. And you could point to shallow American games off and on. So, but at the same time, you could point to really interesting, deep American games or British games even, and really shallow Asian games. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm too close to it, but I don't see that parallel so much. I mean, again, I'm sort of agnostic in that way. I'll just go wherever the quality is. If I'm into the game, it doesn't matter where it's from. So, and I'm not just being PC by that. I literally don't see that conclusion that some people draw. Like for every example of it, I can find a counter example of it. Yeah, we try to. I mean, we try to simulate a broader range of stuff, right? Like a basketball game tries to get better and better at simulating what happens on the court. So eventually, the AI is going to be really fantastic. The ball physics are fantastic. Um, you know, you try to maybe lightly simulate like crowd response and dynamics of different stadiums, things like that. Whereas Deus Ex tries this ambitious thing where it tries to take an entire city section or a headquarters of some organization and like detail it down to what's in the desk drawers. So I guess if you're just talking about scope of what we try to simulate, yeah, we do the ambitious thing. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I think if something really works, why change it? Kind of, mentality. Like, we're often in situations that challenge us. Like, I just dealt with a bug earlier where it's like, our guards have to respond to live grenades. And if a guard's on a patrol route and he walks into a room and you've set a chair on fire a minute ago, but there's no other trace of violence, like, there's no body there, the player's not in there, there's just a burning chair in the room. How does the AI deal with it? And so we have this giant tag database that looks up barks, and the guard goes into like a yellow alert mode and goes, "Hey, a fire!" and like kind of freaks out. And at one point we had a plan for him to go look for an extinguisher and all this other stuff. And it's like you could go further and further, and suddenly you realize you're going down a road that doesn't actually make the game more fun. However, to have him not respond to the chair, to have him just walk through and walk past the fire, that would detract from the game, right? Because it would break the illusion, sort of, that you're in a realistic environment. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to solve some problems that basketball doesn't have to solve right now, And like sporting events are such a controlled environment that they work well with the sort of like rules of game design, basically. Yeah, we do. I mean, right now we have David Kalina, who worked on Splinter Cell. We have Matt Baer, who worked on Terra Nova. We have Jeremy Mappus, a friend of mine from Origin, who worked with me at Origin on a game called Technosaur, and who also worked at Microprose on some stuff, and then went into the business world briefly, stock market stuff. And then we have Art Min, who worked on Team Fortress 2 and Fireteam with me, and System Shock with Looking Glass. So the game industry has gone from there's nobody on the team doing AI except like one guy once in a while does some AI tasks, to like 3 or 4 fully dedicated AI guys at different phases of the project. So the Deus Ex AI and the Thief 3 AI, like, I think they're really fun to play with right now. And a part of it is because they're so responsive. They take cover behind pillars and boxes. They run away when they're badly wounded. They respond to grenades and fires, and it just feels fun. Yeah, still the people. I know that sounds crazy or maybe like a little cliche, but like when you take 30 people or 60 people that are required for modern games, and you pull them all together and they all have conflicting philosophies or disciplines, like the artists, they care mostly about the game looking good. They recognize that the game's got to play good. A lot of them are really, really smart people. But when you when you take that many people together, and on this project we've had big blowout fights and all kinds of squabbles and creative conflicts and alliances and favoritism and just so many conflicts. It's unbelievable. People quitting, people joining midstream. The biggest problem by far, in my opinion, is still personnel. We actually talked to a friend, Ryan Junell, is a documentary maker. He made the Last Spoon video. He's a friend out in San Francisco. I was talking to my friends Justin and Jane and Ryan, and I said, hey, I just saw E-Dreams, and I thought it was interesting, but I would love to see the video game version of that. And they were kind of looking for something to do, so we started kicking around the idea of, like, what if we could do a documentary on the development of a game? But the problem is the turnaround time. They would have to live here with us for 3 years, basically to track the whole. The best thing to do would just be to wire the whole place with cameras and then just constantly record for 3 years and then have somebody have the monumental task of editing and doing interviews afterwards to support it. I love that idea. I still want to write the book about game development. Like, not a book about game design or not a book about the game industry, but like just a story about like what it's like to go through the process, basically. Screw that, man. Our jobs are hard enough without having a bunch of people running around like in the restaurant or whatever,
Every month you kick someone off the team.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go there.